Ira's finger, go. Fuck, why did it freeze?
You froze instantly. That is so
computers,
funny.
dude.
Ooh, that is so funny.
back.
You froze
We're
back
back.
instantly.
Holy shit! All right, recording too. Let's go. Yeah,
And he's stuck again. Yeah, insert the technical difficulties.
Yep.
You know, right here.
Stinger, yep.
Man, that background that you're using is zooming. It looks like you're speeding.
It is very zoomy.
You're flying, dude.
I didn't want to change the speed of it because I have it set specifically for something. So I was like, I don't want to change anything.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, leave it. It's just gonna look like you're driving by.
Just need the Sonic music.
Rolling around. Are we live? Are we? I've been
recording this entire time.
Oh, perfect. Hi, everybody. My name is Jalbagel. Welcome to GamerBreakfast. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, the 2D wonder himself, SkojSkull.
Hello.
And our wonderful, lovely, amazing guest today, Ristretto Chronicles. Say hi, Ristretto.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. If you guys don't know Ristretto is also a Monty Hunter, a video gamer. He is a completionist and likes to take his time with video games and stuff like that. I'm trying to think of what was the first, because I always watch the Monster Hunter community from the outside in, and then when I actually started streaming and stuff like that, I was recognizing names, and yours was one of the names I recognized. I can't remember what video I watched of yours, but it was either For You or Gen Era or something like that. But I don't know, when did you start with Monster Hunter? Because I could be entirely wrong.
I started streaming about 3.5 years ago, and the first game I played was Free Me Night on stream. But since then, one of the things I did for the longest amount of time was during the year that was 2020. We played pretty much only 4 Ultimate from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and it was pretty great.
I think because that's 4 Ultimate was when I started really seeking out Monster Hunter content. So I was watching RX tutorials and his Mix Set Mondays, and I was watching Gaijin tutorials. But I think I found either a video of yours or a VOD of yours just playing For You, and I just had it on, right? It came through to my autoplay or something. But because I remember I started streaming, and then I was let me go. Let me just see who's streaming Monster. I was oh, that's a name I recognize, and I went and I said hi, and then you recognized me. I was how do these people know who I am? I don't do anything here.
That's always a fun feeling when you hop in. They're oh, hey, how you doing? I've watched you for a while.
Yeah,
you've watched me for a while.
Because it was immediate, right? It's I said hi, and you're oh, hey, Jalbagel, I know who you are. I was do?
I think I knew of you because of SD Shepherd. Followed SD Shepherd in his RTA runs for Base Game World and World with add-ons, and I think you had something to do with that scene's development in one way or another, and so that's how I knew your name.
Yeah. Yeah, because I early, because when a year after World came out was when I started actually speedrunning and stuff like that, and I joined the community, and I was heavily involved in Shepard's, right? Because he was speedrunning the game every day, back then 2 years ago, and so I was there all the time. We were just talking and about all that, but that's when I got involved with the speedrun community, the Discord community, and stuff like that, and practically took it over because they threatened to straight up the moderators then just threatened to just not do PC runs, and I'm we're not gonna do that. No, PC superior. We need that leaderboard. Other games do that. So yeah. But I mean, we've talked a little bit just about what you do, but for people that don't know you personally, your stream and your environment and stuff like that. Yeah, give us a little rundown of who is Ristretto.
Oh, I've never been asked anything like that before. I guess essentially for the better part of 3 years, my stream has just been about streaming all different kinds of Monster Hunter, and as thoroughly as possible. I think it started out just trying to be me learning about the series, because when I started streaming, I'd only played a little bit of Generations. Generations was the first game I played in the series, and a little bit of World as well. So when I started streaming, it was because I wanted to learn about one of the older entries, which was Free Me Night, and through the process of kind of playing through some of that game, it gave me some of the ideas that we've carried through over the last couple of years of just trying to play with many different weapons and trying to experience most of the different quests in each game, and kind of making sure to focus on what the differences are between each rank of the game and the differences between the monsters and all that sort of stuff. So really kind of trying to take some sort of a thorough tact through the game, and trying to do it in a way that I find challenging. I would say that we usually try and find something that's a little bit offbeat to do in terms of challenge, where I'm not somebody who's like super into optimization or trying to find like the highest damage way of doing something. I generally try and like to find some kind of inane way to challenge myself, which is a little different as we go. But
yeah,
I don't know. Some thorough, challenging streams.
You did Rise. you did your Rise playthrough again on, because I think you did this both on Switch and on PC, but you did no wire bugs like the entire game.
Just on PC.
That was just on PC. Okay.
Yeah.
So you did no wire bugs there, and I was like watching a lot of that, and I was like, huh. SNS without a wire bug is just like for you SNS.
Yeah.
Just a lot of slashing and shield bashes, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it made the game a lot different to play. I mean, I was looking for I'd actually never replayed a Monster Hunter game before Rise on PC, which was something new for me. So I was looking for a way to make that a little bit different than our time with Switch, because we spent like 500 or 600 hours on the Switch last year.
Oh wow.
So I needed something. I needed some variety.
Yeah. No, but that's good. And you know, I always like trying, because like a lot of my challenges like end up being like speedrun challenges, right? But I always find it refreshing to see that there are still people that are trying to approach this game, like these games just in general, Monster Hunter games, it is, in, you know, a like slowed down kind of approach, right? Take my time, understand the things, like find the things that I like, not the things that are good, you know? Because that's like that's how I've been with like Elden Ring, right? Like I see like everyone like dual wielding ultra great swords, doing the jump attacks and stuff like that, and I'm like, that's cool and all, but I can cast spells out of my left hand and hold the katana in my right. You know?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So I can appreciate that.
No, yeah, I think it's really cool. It's something that like we said this before we started, but it's something that I've always wanted to do, but for myself, it's not my play style. I would love to like I would probably like try it for the first like hour and then just be like, no, I can't. Just go to a last shot right now.
Like playing the game slowly. Yeah, like taking that kind of approach.
Yeah.
Yep. The last time that I did that was like 4U, because that was like the first Monster Hunter game that like I truly got into, because I started in 3U, but I didn't fall in love with the game. I actually hated 3U. But then 4U came out and I was like, okay, I can like actually, it was mostly because like 3U, all of my friends were already like G rank and they were just carrying me through every hunt, and so it just wasn't enjoyable for me. I found like no challenge and no fun and just getting somewhere and just being carried. I was like, nah, this is lame.
Yeah.
But then 4U came out and I was like, oh, I get to play this on my own now. And then like but we get to do this together. We get to progress together. And then they just never got it. I was like, all right, well, fuck you guys. I'm going to play this game for 1,000 hours.
It doesn't have
really
underwater combat.
It's my most played Monster Hunter at this point. I mentioned that we played it for most of 2020. We played only for Ultimate. And yeah, it became my most played one, just edging out Freebie Night, I think.
It's crazy good, like especially since the center round, one of my favorite monsters as well. But like,
oh no, we've started him on it again.
Yes, but no, like the storytelling in the game is absolutely fantastic as well. Like I really love it. It's very, it's very nice. Yeah, story.
Is that's like when you have to like go and interact with an NPC and all those like letters appear at the bottom?
Yeah.
That's the oh yeah. See, I just
yeah.
Right through all that stuff, just mash right through it.
4U has the sick option for the dialogue too, where you can make it be instant with your mashing, so you can mash through stuff really crazy fast.
Oh nice.
Such a good game. Such a good game.
Good option. Good game.
Yeah.
Great. No, it's
I keep saying amazing. Though, like all that MH6 needs to be is just 4U remastered. That's all it needs to be.
I would
make
not
quite a few people
complain.
happy.
Yeah. Like would you want the 16-player lobbies in that case, or would you want like the back to like 4-player?
Oh, I mean, yeah, because like there really is this like, especially for streaming, right? There's this different like sense of like it's a party, it's an experience when you can just have just a shit ton of people, like 16 people in a lobby, and you can jump around and like hunt with different people. And you know, but I will say this too, in Rise's defense, having a 4-player lobby and streaming a bunch and wanting to play with multiple people, it makes that a little bit more conscious, like who you've played with. Yep. You know, so like I like both, but there's definitely just easier, you know, it's easier just to do 16-player lobby.
All you need is a hub that's got 16 and then rooms where you can divide off into 4 if you want. That's all you need.
Yeah.
It'd be so sick though.
Little like cubbies, little hunting cubbies, or I don't know what you call them.
Hunting cubbies. Yeah. Oh man. I mean, so you started with Preview Night, yeah?
That was my first one I streamed. I like Jal. I was gonna say I found that really relatable, and then I bounced off of not just For You, but I also bounced off Try. I picked it up when I was pretty young for the Wii. I was a lot younger, and I really wanted to play Skyrim, and my parents were not okay with me playing Skyrim at the time. They were pretty picky about which video games I was allowed to play.
I feel that.
And I was really excited because Try had a character creator just like Skyrim, and I was really into it. But I didn't even beat a great Jaggy back then. I didn't make it. So it took until Generations coming out. I don't really remember exactly what made me try Generations specifically, but Generations on the 3DS was what finally clicked with me. I was watching Eric's tutorials and Gaijin Hunter tutorials, and Aerial Longsword was the first thing that was like simple enough of a flowchart to click with me, and so I played a lot of Generations as Aerial Longsword.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm like, I have so much time. I have like 600 or 700 hours in Generations, and I've got like 20 in Gen U. I just can't get into Gen U, right? Because it hit the West a year after World came out. I want to play World.
That's fair.
Yep. I haven't played much of Gen U either. I played a good chunk of Generations. I've played a little bit of at least a tiny bit of every entry in the series besides like Monster Hunter Online, if you count that.
MHO,
which some people would.
Tencent made that one, right? MHO?
I forget who. It was not in any way like.
Is that just free?
The team that made that was not from Capcom.
What was that called? Was that the one that was?
It was Tencent game.
They recently got rid of the online functionality in that, or is that something else?
No,
both Online and Frontier went down over a year ago.
Oh yeah, Frontier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Well, like Frontier has like been down, right?
Yeah, they both went down within the same year or so. It seemed like Capcom at large, or the Monster Hunter IP decisions at large, decided to wind down some of those older mobile games and older MMOs and side projects.
They want to move on.
Mm-hmm. Right around the same time that World was either releasing or getting pretty popular, which I think, I don't know, that seems like as good a time as any when you're making a big split in the series, or a big sort of step forward in the series, to move on from some things that you tried and maintained for a long time and go, okay, we're making a fresh start here.
Yeah, you want to look at like how many players are actually playing the game, and then compare it to like the other games that are releasing, and you're like, yeah, we can move on probably.
Plus, a 12-year MMO with like Monster Hunter's progression system is insane. Like, I don't know how you make that and continue to make that for 12 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, MHO was discontinued December 18th, 2019. I didn't realize it was that recent ago. That was the other thing too, is that it wasn't accessible for a Western audience. You had to use a VPN, and that was like the only way that you could play it. The game was only in Japanese. Someone made a mod to convert it to English. And what's even funnier is that like a lot of the trailers and stuff for MHO were actually in English.
What?
Mm-hmm.
But because like they use like a lot of like English words and stuff like that, because like, you know, Japanese people know English, and English is really easy to use in that kind of an audience, is like a capture like buzzwords, right?
Yeah,
you know. But I just think it's so funny. You could do it. Like, I remember I looked into it, so I was like, I want to play an MMO again. I looked into it and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know how to.
I would love, like, if there was like a new Monster MMO that comes out like recently, I would be absolutely down to play it. That would. I've been
saying this. I've been saying this when World got announced. My friend Raven and I like sat down. We're like, okay, what do we want in World? Like, what is it that we want? And I said, open world, MMO style, like just leave the village, walk somewhere randomly in the world and go find the monster. Like, I would love that shit. Oh my god, I would love that shit. and we got close, right? Like we got really close. But I think MH6 will just be like a world but bigger, right? I think they'll treat it like they treated Generations, you know, like, oh, Generations, like let's throw like all these monsters in there, let's make it a big spectacle. It's like the 10-year anniversary or whatever it was when the game came out. Like, let's make it this big thing. And I think that's what they should do with MH6. and try to bring back a lot of different, areas, and a lot of like remaster a lot of the game, use things that already exist. Don't make anything new. Rise is cool. Komoda is cool. They made like a lot of new stuff that adds to it. It's like a really, poorly thought out D&D campaign at this point. We've got this one universe. We've got like all these, like we got like 16 different stories going on, and none of them are like crossover, but they're all canon, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I always have big hopes for that kind of stuff, but I don't really know how like an MMO, because like it wouldn't be like MMO style progression. It had to be MMO like just like functionality, but still Monster Hunter progression and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I don't even know how not freedom. What was it called? Frontier. Oh, what are the F words? Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, Skoy.
But yeah, I imagine that was what that was like. Probably. I haven't seen any gameplay aside from gore.
From what I've read about it, and from what I played of it, it seemed like it was a challenge that they had to kind of work kind of carefully and kind of not so carefully other times around putting in new content towards the end of the game and finding ways to encourage people to get to that content without constantly removing or rebalancing the content that had come before to let people get through to it.
Yeah.
So across 12 years, some stuff just got really compacted or really kind of changed in terms of balancing, where if you fought, like, let's say the final boss of whatever Frontier 1.0 was, I think it was Teostra. That Teostra was probably not the same by the time there was 12 years gone by of like updates and changes and mechanics added to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like at that point, like, because you do have to treat MMOs as like a live service thing, right? That you want them to last long. You have to add content to it. You have to rebalance for the new content that's added. And like we kind of see that with World in a sense, like where we get new updates, we get new content, like things break and so it gets fixed, things get readjusted because they're, not intended, right? Chargeblade, release Chargeblade on World. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Was it bad?
No, it was broken.
Really
like, like actually
really
broken.
good.
Like your file damage was not calculating correctly, and it ended up dealing more damage. So SAED spam was just good. 1.0 world speed runs with no one took advantage of it, but 1.0 world speed runs technically would be fastest with Syed spam CB.
That's crazy. Like, I wonder if there would be a mod, or if there is a mod that kind of like has that same.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, absolutely. But you can like backpatch your game to 1.0.
That'd be insane.
I thought about doing that because I wanted to try and experience Base World before all the balance changes changed it, and before they added in more mechanics to it. Like, I just wanted to experience just that game on its own, because I played it in 2018, but it was before I was streaming. It was before I was like before I was playing the games a little more thoroughly. And I looked into backpatching, but I didn't end up actually doing it.
Yeah.
Are you into MMOs?
Say again?
Are you into MMOs?
I've never played one or never gotten into one. I mean, I've dipped my toe into like Warframe. I tried Final Fantasy 14 out long enough to see that it would not allow me to only fish without doing any combat. And then I was like, okay, I'm good. I want to be like the one person, the one friend in the circle where like y'all are off doing raids. I'm sitting here, I'm fishing or I'm cooking.
I'm level 90 fisher.
Yeah. Join them on the raid and just start fishing randomly in the raid.
Yep.
I know you can't do that.
You need to like be able to progress to other areas to be able to like continue doing fishing and stuff like that. And if you just don't do that, then you can't level that content up.
Just play summoner, have your little minions do the work for you.
That's not how that works.
I know. I'm just it was just rhetorical. But yeah, are there any other games that you do play? I imagine.
Not a whole lot, honestly. Like for the past 3 years, I've played pretty much almost only Monster Hunter. One of my side games is Tetris. I play not a lot of Tetris, but me, a former roommate and me played a lot of Tetris together when we lived together in the same house. Where at first we were just kind of taking turns playing like a really fast version of Tetris on the PS4, Tetris Effect, and then eventually we got into doing a little bit of Tetris Versus. Neither of us are like super good, but enough to really enjoy playing against one another. Then as of late, actually this spring is the first time I've ever streamed something for a consistent amount of time that wasn't Monster Hunter with Elden Ring. And it's also my first time trying out a FromSoft game.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
It's been very refreshing.
I bet. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I was thinking, like too, right? Because like I've always wanted to get into Souls-like games, and I tried Dark Souls 3 and Sekiro, and just the way those games are designed, it just puts me on edge. But like Elden Ring,
Yep.
I can enjoy that kind of combat. I can kind of take it at my own pace, and go and explore the things. Like it feels good.
Yep, I get what you mean. I tried Dark Souls and Bloodborne before trying Elden Ring, and both of them, for me, it was like a mood thing where they're both so dark and grim. It was just like, I don't want to, like, it makes that sort of stuff. I can't play horror games. They just make me anxious, and I don't enjoy the feeling at all.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, at all. And like, I'm sure chat would enjoy it, but I would not enjoy streaming that sort of thing. So
oh my god,
Elden Ring being a little more colorful and a little brighter, I was like, okay, I can try this, and I have ended up really enjoying it.
Hell yeah. No, I've had the same experience as well, but I just kind of just pushed through it, where I was just stressed the entire time, especially after you die and you have to go back to that same location. And then Elden Ring fixed that while having to spawn directly next to the boss, where it's just like, hey, you died, but it's fine. You can just immediately do it again.
For most, yeah, like your spawn's like right next to that boss, which makes it a lot more enjoyable and approachable, in my opinion. I found like once there was one boss that I did the last time I played, which was like almost 2 weeks ago now. But I like when I did that, like there was still like a long like hallway sequence to get through that had a bunch of enemies in it, but I eventually just got to the point where I was like, I can just run through all of this.
Well, I can tell that's a Souls classic, just running past everything.
Oh, absolutely.
You breaking things over there? You good?
Just knocking stuff around. It's fine.
Oh, perfect.
Just breaking everything. So do you have any like future goals in terms of like what you're planning on for, I guess, either with Monster Hunter or you want to tackle more into variety and try out the other different games that you haven't played before?
If you'd asked me a month ago, my answer might have been very different, because I truly hadn't streamed anything besides Monster Hunter on Twitch. I think my plan, I mean, as far as streaming goes, I still plan to play mostly Monster Hunter. But I think prior to playing Elden Ring, I wasn't really interested in playing any Souls games or any games that were like similar in terms of like, I don't know, basic game design or basic combat design to Monster Hunter, right? Because people will bring up Toikoden or God Eater or any other like range of games that have like somewhat similar combat to Monster Hunter, or somewhat like, I don't know, tangentially related combat. And my answer was always, well, like, I have more Monster Hunter to play. Why would I play those games? I still kind of feel like that, because I think even though I'm enjoying myself in Elden Ring and finding lots of really neat differences to enjoy and kind of say, hey, this game has like a similar starting point in terms of some of the bones underneath there. Like there's still weighty animations, there's still tough bosses and stuff, but they diverge in such interesting ways from one another. It's genuinely interesting. Like if you're interested in a truly open world Monster Hunter game, Elden Ring is kind of that. I mean, it's not the same where you're not going out and hunting down something for a prolonged period of time. You're not grinding the same hunt. You're not being able to upgrade your gear in the same way, but there is exploration, and in reward for exploration, you do get cool loot, fight tough bosses. And so it's really neat getting to see that, especially on such a grandiose scale. It's super cool. So I'm actually really curious about what that series was like a couple games ago. Like I really want to play Dark Souls or Demon Souls now and see. I really enjoy Freebie Night for a lot of different reasons than I enjoy Rise or World. And it's fun kind of being able to kind of track that progression of how those game design decisions and how those combat design decisions changed over the games. And so now I'm kind of curious to do the same thing for the Souls games, but I think it'll probably be interspersed between Monster Hunter, because while I'm enjoying the refreshing time in Elden Ring, there's still a lot of things about Monster Hunter that just kind of make it like my perfect game.
Oh yeah, I completely understand that. Oh man,
I've like thought about, I can't even say that, right? Because like I have like the thought every now and then, like, yeah, I should try other games like Demon Souls and like Dark Souls 2, but it's like I literally couldn't get through Dark Souls 3 just because of anxiety. You know,
you'll probably have it a lot worse with, especially with the clunk.
Yeah, I will say this. I did try. Was it? Oh god, it's the anime Souls game that
Code Vein.
Code Vein. Thank you. I almost said Code Geass. Code Geass. I'm like, that's not right.
That's an anime.
Code Vein. I tried and I played for about like 6 hours and I was enjoying it until I got bodied just by a section that was pissing me off, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. and I got up and I went to bed. I went to bed angry that night. I remember it vividly. I was pissed. So I haven't opened the game since. But that's been a fun game, and I have God Eater 3 that I wanted to try out too, because a lot of people told me that like God Eater 3 plays a lot like an anime Monster Hunter game, and I'm like,
Yes.
that's interesting. Though I don't believe it.
I mean, I have
Yeah.
God Eater 3 as well, so if you ever want to play Jal, I am 100% down.
Is it multiplayer? I guess it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
We could be anime together.
Oh no.
Speaking of
First he's 2D, now he's anime.
Speaking of anime though, are you into anime at all?
Only a little bit. I don't really want. Is this a legitimate question? Should I answer?
Yes!
Jealous.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, it's just I ask
saw
him for
him
every
dip out.
podcast, and I found my chance. I'm gonna ask him now. We can get back to game topics, but I just want to know.
I don't watch much TV or movies, but I have enjoyed a few anime. I've enjoyed Samurai Champloo,
Ooh,
Evangelion, and Cowboy
okay.
Bebop, and that's about it
alright.
so far.
At least one of those was a good pick.
That sounds like
All
such a
with, like
you
several years
anime.
in between them.
That fits you so well. I feel like around that field
Samurai
of anime.
Champloo. Samurai Champloo. I started. I don't think I ever finished. But Cowboy Bebop is my jam.
I
Love
need to
that.
watch it. I haven't watched any of those.
They're good.
And now Tank is stuck in my head. Thank you.
Sorry.
Hell
There are
yeah.
worse things.
There are worse things.
Yeah, there are.
I live here now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
There you go.
I don't really watch like much TV or movies in general. Movies especially, it's really hard to find one that I actually am interested in these days because it feels like so many of them are just kind of like excuses for flashy effects. I don't know. I don't have a well-formed opinion on movies, but I have a hard time enjoying them these days.
That's completely understandable, especially since a lot of them go off of like the cookie cutter way of filmmaking, where it's just like main character meets conflict happens, resolve, he's about to die, they figure things out or something like that.
Yeah.
Usually how it goes. But
I
going
mean,
back
especially the I have an opinion on this, Skoy. Hold
go
on.
for it.
Especially the Marvel movies, I always felt like
Oh,
were just an excuse to spend just an extreme amount of money, right? Like the Transformers movies were that in like 2012 and 2014. It was just a reason to spend a shit ton of money. And so like the Marvel movies are just the exact same thing. Finding like movies that actually have like good, message or good content or good value to them is really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Someone asked me what my like favorite movie I'd seen recently was a few days ago, and I was just like, I don't know.
Recently.
Yeah.
Sitting there like Avatar was really good. It's like that was 2012, right?
That's happening to me with surprisingly more things. I forget what it was. I was looking at something. I was like that was a recent like music album, or that was a recent movie or something. It's like no, that was like 8 years ago. It's like
came out in 2008.
Oh.
It's like
Yep. Weird.
Jesus. But I mean, do you have any other game like Monster Hunter game that you plan on kind of tackling?
The rest of my year is pretty undecided. I realized in the last year or so that I think I enjoy playing older Monster Hunter games, not necessarily ones that are old, like I only like the classic ones, not like that, but just I enjoy Monster Hunter. I enjoy playing Monster Hunter games that have already kind of run their course. I played Iceborne at launch, and I played Rise at launch, and I played Rise PC at launch, and I've realized that I think I enjoy playing the games when they've already kind of finished getting all their updates. All the balance changes have already come to pass. Everybody's already had their hissy fit about the black belt armor being added and all that stuff. And I can just enjoy playing through the game at my own pace and hearing fun anecdotes and fun stories from other people and learning from folks in chat. Like I think that's one of my favorite things about streaming Monster Hunter on Twitch is, I mean, I like when I get a chance to teach somebody something because that's fun. It doesn't happen very often because I'm not amazing, but like whenever I get to, it's exciting. But I really like getting to learn how things work from other people in chat. There are a few people I can think of just off the top of my head where it's been 3 years plus now, and I can still remember the folks who taught me some really important things back in Free Unite, and those things have carried through the games, even as the mechanics change. It's like I can still think of some lessons that I've learned from folks way back in the day that still are applicable, and just I don't know, I think it's pretty neat. And I don't necessarily get that as much when the games are just coming out because everyone's still forming their own opinions and finding out how things work, and it's neat. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do the rest of the year because I'm not sure if I'm going to play Sunbreak at release. It's really exciting looking, and I really liked Rise a lot. It was one of my favorite entries in the series. I think it was a good combination of things for me. But I might play some 3U. There's a few, like I started to play through 3U last fall, and I took a break to play some World, and now I've taken a break to play some Rise, and now some Elden Ring. So I have a couple playthroughs that are kind of up in the air, but I feel like I want to sink my teeth into a game for a good long while. So it might be a whole lot more 3 Ultimate, or it might be Generations Ultimate. There's like a running joke between folks around my chat or around my community that I hate that game, which is ridiculous because that's the game that essentially got me into the series. But it's been so long that a lot of people really want me to play that game, and I haven't yet. So I might play that game. Still up in the air.
Yeah, I think for me, like Gen U's next on my list, right? Because it's the only Monster Hunter game that I purchased that I didn't dump 600 hours into. So I'd like to get like just 200 out of it, like just get a playthrough in, right? Yeah. Do the deviants, like maybe not farm. The only thing that I want to farm, is Silverwind Nargacuga. That's it, because it's like one of the best Switch Axe sets. That's the only thing I want to do. And I was doing that in Generation solo, right? So I was doing like the high rank Silverwind Nargacuga, and I got to Silverwind 9 on my own, but that's a double Silverwind quest. I just like I couldn't get through it.
Yeah, that one's rough.
That one's rough. And like I was playing Generations completely solo. So like I did everything I played 4U completely, so I finished G rank of 4U completely solo.
G rank 4U is really something.
It's really crazy.
Chameleos Insect Glaive carried me through that entire game.
Yeah, there's some. It's funny how you form bonds with weapons like that. There are some you'll think of them, you'll go, oh yeah, that Insect Glaive. Oh yeah, that longsword, whatever it was.
Because I was using Charge Blade because it was like this new like crazy thing. I used Charge Blade through Village, and then I did my first G rank, or not my first G rank, my first hub quest, and I was like, oh, these things are a lot harder, and I can't really do that. And then I started realizing that like Mount Cheese was a thing, and I was like, okay.
You can, the old Mount Cheese with Insect Glaive is crazy in early games, like especially in 4U, where like when it was introduced,
where mounting was made.
Yeah, where mounting was introduced, and you could just continuously mount the monsters for 3 or 4 times per run.
It's a little overtuned in that game.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I think it was, and it was like it's like the same thing. Oh my god, I'm gonna get crucified for this. Mounting in 4U is what wire bugs and wyvern riding is in Rise. It was a mechanic that was introduced that nobody liked because they felt like it made the game too easy, and now in World we're like, yeah, mounting's just a thing. Like we're gonna have that now.
Yeah.
But the difference is that mounting is optional, right? You have to do an aerial attack. You have to do like a jump off of a ledge into an attack, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
it's like, really hard to defend.
We don't have to like jump into that because we beat that.
I'm sure we all have. It's been it's interesting seeing whatever the I don't know, the pertinent conversation is per game, whether it's Clutch Claw or Wire Bug or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know if they'll ever do a game that doesn't have something like that in terms of like a new mechanic that's supposed to define that entry. Yeah,
exactly. It's Pokemon like theory. We need a defining mechanic. They had 3 games. Stay with me now. Game Freak had 3 games that had 0 gimmick. Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3. Did Gen 4 have a gimmick? Did Gen 5 have a gimmick? They had 5 games.
It might have
a gimmick. Shit, it wasn't until Gen 6 that we were like, hey, let's have
what was
gimmicks.
That? Mega evolutions and Z.
Yeah, megas and X. Megas and X and Y.
Z moves.
Really?
Gigamax.
I take it. I mean, I guess I take it back. I don't know. I don't take it back because, like, I feel like that's. I feel like because, like, I would be shocked. Think about it this way: I would be shocked if that, like, imagine if we got Gen 1 Pokemon today, and then next year we got Gen 2. Not like, let's say, like comparable graphics, stuff like that, but design wise, right?
Yeah.
We get a Pokemon game, then we get a Pokemon game, and the difference is new region, new Pokemon. Then we get a Pokemon game, the difference is new region, new Pokemon, right? Exactly. It's just more every time. I mean, I guess like Monster Hunter did the exact same thing, right? Where like you had MH Release and you had MH Dose, you had MH Freedom and Freedom Unite, and those were just adding more monsters and more locales. And then like we had Try, which added water combat. Like that was like the big thing.
The first big shift, it's interesting being able to look at the series. As actually going back to, you were talking about what you wanted from Monster Hunter 6. I'm excited because I think it's pretty easy to look at the different eras of Monster Hunter, whether it's like MH1 through MH Freedom, or sorry, Freedom Unite, excuse me, and then MH Try through MH4U or MH Generations Ultimate. And it's easy to see how they take a big step forward at the beginning of each of those big shifts. Kind of like how they took a big step forward with World, and then they iterate on it for a few games. And then you get the excellence that is like all of Freedom Unite being a big summarization of all the stuff that came before it, all the monsters, all the maps, etc. Same thing with Generations Ultimate or 4 Ultimate, where you get loads of monsters, and it's really refined. It's a pretty great entry. I'm excited to see what, I mean, I like a lot of the things, a lot of the changes that they made to Rise. Not necessarily all of the wire bugs and like the wyvern riding, but just in terms of like the changes to some of the every designed the monsters' movements and fights, I think are really great. And I'm really excited to see how they'll continue to iterate this new, faster kind of combat. Because every handful of games, as they iterate on those big shifts, we get some really good entries, man. And I'm pretty hyped about it.
Oh yeah, and I feel like that's.
Oh, go ahead, Skoy.
I feel like it's going to continue going off from it. Like I feel like with the Monster Hunter games, they take off, okay, what worked in the previous games? What do people really like about that? They kind of take that and put it to the next game. It's like, how can we improve that? I don't think we'll have wire bugging in Monster Hunter 6.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like I feel like wire bugging feels like a thing set for just specifically Monster Hunter Rise. Yeah. But I definitely think they want to maybe adapt more with like switch skills and try to.
Yeah, switch skills are really neat.
They're fun.
Yeah, I think that, and I might be alone in this in this camp.
Sorry.
But I want a slower experience. I don't.
You're not alone.
I want a slower
you're not
game.
Alone.
Right, and it's not even like an elitist standpoint, right? Because like a lot of people always like compare this back to elitism and like Gen 1 kind of like mindset. Oh, you're like a Gen 1 or mindset, or like you're a veteran mindset, right? I feel like that when you slow down the game's like play style, like you make the hunts longer, however you choose to do that, right? And you create a more memorable experience that every fight feels more impactful. The only fight that had that experience for me in World, because none of them had this in Rise, just by the way, in World, the only fight that like actually left an impression on me was Nergigante Base World. It was the only fight that left an impression on me. Because it was the only one that I struggled with, right? Everything else I had fun with it, right? Like it's the first time playing this gigantic installment of Monster Hunter, and it was the first time that I actually like went out of my way to become an expert on the topic, you know? And I loved it. I enjoyed it, but that Nergigante was like the only thing that I felt was like just a difficult wall. And think about it in like the sense of like rewarding, like how rewarding it is like an Elden Ring to get past a monster, to like to beat this big boss. I feel like if we slowed down just the fights in general, not like the literal speed of the monsters and go back to standing still and flexing after you drink and stuff like that, but just like, I mean, look at even just right now, just look at a Monster Hunter World RTA speedrun with bare bones minimum just things. I can still clacker lock a monster with just base equipment, just starting. You can still lock a monster fully and you finish hunts and this is even without add-ons. You finish hunts in under 5 minutes. Yeah. So like it's insane like where the game is and where they want that, right? And I just feel like if they took a more let's make hard wall, like creatures, like let's implement that and just slow down the combat some, like the progression some, it just makes a grander experience.
Yeah, I feel that.
It should be interesting to see them continue to iterate on it, because there are some things, I don't know. I think that the series in general through various ways. You don't have to, like you said, you don't have to slow down the monster's movement speed or their animations. You don't have to make the player stop with everything they do or they're using an item, that kind of thing. But I think that a lot of the core parts of the series are benefited by having a little bit slower pace, where it's like if your attacks are a little bit slower, you really have to think a little bit more before you put each attack out there. Same thing with the monsters, where if the monsters are a little bit bigger or slower, you don't have to think about how you're going to get out of the way of them, that kind of thing. I lost my train of thought.
I hate that. Oh my gosh.
You like get so deep into a topic and you're like, wait a minute, why were we talking?
It's okay. I caught it again. I think it'll be interesting to see how they iterate on that combat, because I mean, there are some new experiences afforded by making the combat faster and faster and more fluid and more like direct control from the player. There's some fights I've had against like stuff like Viper Toby Kadachi or Valstrax, where it's just like a really fast fight and it feels absolutely designed around the kind of movement that the hunters have access to in 5th generation. But then you have monsters that don't necessarily feel super designed around how fast and powerful the hunters are. And with those hunts, it doesn't feel nearly as interesting as some of the older games would have had that monster feel, I guess, if that makes sense, where when the hunters were slower, a lot more different kinds of monsters still felt like kind of a threat, whereas the faster you make a lot of the combat, it's tougher, or at least it's different to make hunts and the individual moment to moment gameplay and every player action feel as meaningful when it is like so much faster and a little bit easier, or just not even easier, but just more fluid to get in and out of the situations.
Yeah
And it's definitely indicative of what we would call like modern live action adventure games, right?
Yeah,
like live combat adventure games. Like World is the perfect example of what a live combat action game is supposed to be. At least in my opinion, right? Because I don't like Souls games, and I haven't heard that genre before, so that's why I'm saying because like live action is like or live combat is like one-to-one like input, like you press a button, you swing a sword, right? Like Zelda is considered a live combat adventure game, right? Like, but you know, I like Breath of the Wild's in its own entirely different genre. But like, if you in comparison to like, you know, Final Fantasy games where they're mostly just like menuing, right? Like it's like pseudo live action because you have like the ATP gauges now, and and then I guess Final Fantasy 7 Remake is really close to like a live combat. And then Stranger of Paradise, that's the newest one that came out. I read a review on that one. I read a review that someone wrote because like they finished the game and they said it is the closest to and probably the best designed version of a live combat Final Fantasy game. They said the combat for it was amazing. They said it felt like Monster Hunter. This is coming from a non-Monster Hunter like content creator, like not like, you know, someone that prides themselves in just doing Monster Hunter stuff, because like there's different types of weapons, there's different combos with like those pieces of equipment, and it's all live combat. You know, with very little, you know, actual like menu interaction and stuff like that.
And this is for the new Final Fantasy game.
That's the Stranger of Paradise, something like that.
I think it counts as like a spin-off entry in the series. But yeah, it's the most recent release. It came out a couple weeks ago, but it's like another live combat game at the same time as one of the largest live combat games to come out this year.
Weird.
So
that's crazy.
It's gonna have a hard time when everybody's playing Elden Ring.
I mean, like an Elden Ring is gonna be on like at that like peak right now. Like it's literally gonna be, you know, GOTY 2022. Yeah. There's no question, right? There's nothing else. Kirby is like the closest contender right now, and still Elden Ring's just gonna beat that because Breath of the Wild's coming out next year. Like BOTW 2 is coming out next year now. Yeah,
that got announced recently.
A lot of people are because it was announced for this year. It's supposed to come out
late this year.
Quarter. It was supposed to come out Q2 of 2022. Really? It was supposed to come out this month. Like there was supposed to be an announcement this month of the date. That's why they pushed it back. And because they during the last direct of 2021, when they showed all of that Breath of the Wild 2 footage, they said more information, you know, coming in 2022 quarter two, whatever. And I saw this on Twitter, right? I won't take credit for this thinking, but someone said they're positive that the game got pushed back, one, probably because of development problems and just wanting to polish the game, right? Zelda games are always like that. But two, because they don't want to compete with Elden Ring for Game of the Year.
That's fair.
Which is honestly probably like it's probably the case.
Mhm.
You have a lot to live up to from Breath of the Wild 1, and then you have to compete for Game of the Year, and which like I don't know if like they really like care about that,
Yeah.
but you're trying to compete with sales
Mhm.
with Elden Ring. You want people to run out their life in Elden Ring, right? And
Yeah.
then have a new open world live combat game come out when they're done playing that, and then play that instead.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
you don't want people to be full up of Elden Ring. You want people to be really, really ready for Breath of the Wild too.
Absolutely.
And like a classic example of this, so because I always bring this up, is Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 came out the exact same time as a
Advanced
Modern Warfare game.
Yeah.
Advanced Warfare. It came out the same week and got overshadowed entirely. And it's the only reason why we won't get a Titanfall 3 is because they fucked themselves, right? They released it at the same time as a literal just powerhouse in the industry. If they would have waited a quarter, it would have succeeded, because like Titanfall 2 had everything. It had an amazing story, has an amazing movement system, it has multiplayer combat, multiplayer co-op and multiplayer online competitive. The game is fantastic, it's brilliant, and it flopped because of its release schedule.
I think the original Titanfall was released in a similar time frame, right around the like Battlefield Call of Duty time of year.
Really?
Yep, they did the exact same thing with Titanfall
That poor
1.
team.
But like they just keep doing it to themselves. They literally are just shooting themselves in the foot. And so now that's scrapped entirely, and they're using the majority of that inspiration for Apex now.
Yeah,
right.
Now they're probably buckled up for Apex for a long time.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, Apex has had
it's
so much success with that game.
literally, you know, in the top 3 most popular battle royale games out right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that Tarkov and Fortnite.
I have no idea. I'm my finger is not on the pulse of what's popular right now. I look at like the top categories on Twitch, and it's like stuff from forever ago. It's like GTA 5 and Minecraft, and like
dude, GTA 5
but
will never go away. I don't know what it is, but
It's
GTA
never gonna
5 has
die.
a 15-year like life cycle now. That game came out when I was in college. It's never going away.
It came
When
out on
did
the
GTA 5 come
Xbox
out?
360 on 2013.
yeah, it came out on 2 generations ago, dude.
2013.
It's coming up on 10 years, just like
They're
Skyrim.
still making just like Skyrim. They're still making content for this game too. They literally they still make content for GTA 5, which is insane to me. Like I'll be on Twitch and it'll be like new GTA 5 DLC. I'm like, what?
And they're finally starting teasing for GTA 6. They announced that it's in production, that they're like they're making the game, and that's fucking wild.
There was a theory I think like 2 years ago that said that GTA 6 was going to take place in Texas, like the Texas Mexico like area
France.
region.
Really?
France, that'd be cool.
Europe? Have they done a European one before?
I don't know.
No.
I don't think so. I'm not an aficionado on GTA. I've barely played GTA, but
No, it's mostly been like New York, Miami,
like satirical American or parodies of American cities.
Yeah, because like this one takes place in like a pseudo
Los
like
Angeles.
California, Los Angeles area, and then we had like another oh god, was it? Because this is like the 5 is Los Santos, right?
I forget.
You're asking the wrong guy. I've played nothing but Monster Hunter.
I only played GTA 5, so
There is San Andreas, there's Vice City, yeah.
But
Los Santos.
it's crazy how those games are continuously being remastered, and they're still gonna be making money.
But GTA 5 has never been remastered. It's running on the same engine that it ran on the Xbox 360.
Well, I meant
That's
remastered
it.
in the sense of graphics, because if you look at the trailers for GTA 5 on the Xbox 360, it looks garbage.
Oh yeah,
They've definitely like
I mean that's just like fidelity updates. Yeah,
And then when it came out for PC, that was game over. They won. They did it.
Over. Though I will say this, it kind of flopped on PC because they have problems. They had for a year and a half they had a problem with how the game would connect to the internet. So every time that I tried to launch GTA 5, it would get stuck in a loop of trying to connect to the online server. So to solve this, you either play offline, which is fine if you're just doing like story stuff, and you can still play your custom character offline. You just can't like really do anything. Or what you had to do was launch the game, go into your like program settings, and then set the program's priority to first, and then it would connect to the internet.
That sounds like PC gaming to me.
Yeah.
It was like that for 2 years.
Jesus.
It was the only reason why I didn't want to play the game. And like I tried it a couple of times. I'm like, okay, like this is, yeah, sure, it's easy, but it's tedious.
Yeah.
You know, to like go through and do all that stuff. I was like, ugh.
And it seems like, for the most part, that online portion of the game is what's carried it in a way that I don't think anybody could have really seen coming. Because before that, Rockstar wasn't really in the business of live games, and I was kind of curious to see if Red Dead was going to basically like carry that torch. And it seems like, I mean, I think there are a lot of people who like playing that game online, but no, it's not taking over for it. GTA is still by far more popular online. You see, I mean, just look at Twitch. I mean, you see a lot more people streaming it and playing it and watching it. It's really crazy.
It's insane. Because like it's like Minecraft in the sense that there's so much that you can do in the game. Because like you're the people that like to do like the third person like shooting competitive. They have people that like to do racing on GTA competitive. There's RP, which I find hilarious.
The role plays, like with the bigger creators, has been absolutely hilarious. Like there's been a situation where XQC like flies across, like trying to get away from like a cop or something. It was fucking hilarious.
Well, that stuff it's insane.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, like, should there even be a GTA 6? Would that even like help?
It's a pretty valid question, honestly.
Like, GTA 5 is has such a staple that people just flock to that. I mean, GTA 6 would have to do something significant to be able to do better than GTA 5. Just faster load times.
It'll probably be a while.
I don't, and like that's kind of like the thing, right? Is that like this is just like my thinking, right? Just like as like an artist, it's like a creator, right? Like we kind of think of this way. It's not about for most people, it may not be about like creating something better instead of just creating something in general, right? Because like we see that with Rise, and I'm starting to like see like signs of this with Capcom, but in my head, right, Rise was never supposed to supersede World.
No.
It was supposed to introduce just new mechanics and new things to us. And I mean, they even said this too, like for the development of Rise and World started development at the exact same time. And they scrapped the majority of Rise because they saw how well World did with open area styles, this pseudo open world style game. And so they started scrapping things and adapting things that were successful in World, which is, in my opinion, really obvious because some things transferred really well and other things didn't. Radial menu. Radial menu in Rise, just, I don't know what it is. I think it's just how Rise controls. But like, oh my gosh, I hate the radial menu in Rise. I love it in World. Best thing ever made. In Rise, awful, garbage, dumb, stupid. I use it for one thing, and that's to mount the dog in Craft, and that's it. I guess that's two things. But it's all intent, right? Like when they go to make a GTA 6, do you want it to be better than 5, or do you want it to be different? Like I could definitely see them going for a story heavy experience in GTA 6, something that's just going to live for a year or two, right? And just kind of like exist as a play it once, maybe twice, and you're done, right? Like Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasy games are all like that. We just want you to play it once or twice and enjoy that story and then move on with your lives. We don't need this live service like feeling. But like the biggest thing that they sold with GTA 5 was GTA Online. Yeah. And so that was really what that was for GTA Online, not for GTA 5 story or anything like that. Story's fun, but it really just it lets you like just dip your toes into what's possible in the GTA game, you know? Yeah, I could see them just being like, hey, GTA 6, huge like 60-hour story, have fun.
I bet whatever they do, they'll probably I bet they'll be trying their darndest, just like with Red Dead, to make lightning strike twice with that online portion. I would be surprised if it was something that was just a story or single player initially, at least. Yeah.
Because I mean, you see it even in Rise, like, because Rise is designed to be something different, but everyone wanted World 2.
Yeah.
And so when we get Rise, our expectations were here, like, and I'm not saying like high, just different than what Rise was, right? Like we expected a World 2. We wanted a World 2 with just more mechanics, better graphics, 16-player lobbies, like this same kind of experience but we don't get that. We get something completely different. And just the way that like people and like customers just temper their own expectations. A customer is the worst person when they go to like set their expectations, right? Like you go into a store or like you go to like order dinner and like you're like, oh yes, this steak is the most expensive thing and it's a steak, it's got to be amazing. My expectations are blown out of proportion. I'm gonna order it medium, like I'm gonna order it well done, and then you've ruined it for yourself.
Yep. That's probably one of the toughest parts about being an employee for almost any business is setting customers' expectations properly. Whether you are a video game developer or some social media for a video game developer, or just an employee at like a regular business, like a restaurant or like a store, whatever. Someone's going to come in and they might expect something different. It's up to and it's on you to try and make sure that that you can set their expectations in a way that's going to make them have a good experience.
Yeah,
it's something that Capcom, I mean, Capcom and the Monster Hunter team will have to. I think it's clear that they are taking that into account, but I think that they'll continue to take that into account in different ways, and I'm interested to see how that turns out. It's clear that, like with World, they're trying a lot of different things, not just the open world stuff, but a lot of different things in general. Whether those things are rotating events or microtransactions or whatever it is, like there's a lot of new things they're trying that they have not done before, and it'll be interesting to see how they continue to do that.
I like that. I like, even if it doesn't work, I want them to test things. I want them to try new things out. Like even if like I'm not a big fan of it, that's completely fine. They'll write that down, put it up on the bulletin. This is the game we have now. We're not going to change anything drastically because it's out now. But I hope they continue to test things out and try new things with either just the way things are laid out in the game or even how the monster moves or fights. Like we'll see.
I would be very surprised if MH6 wasn't a pseudo live service design like World was. I would be shocked because that was super successful, lasted 4 years, right? Like 4 years of just like active live updates. I would be super shocked if that wasn't the case for the next installment, you know?
Yeah, it'll be neat to see how they do that.
Yeah. So Sunbreak, because like we're on this like kind of like expectations like video games like for Monster Hunter and stuff like that. I think it like Skoj, we did a pre Sunbreak news. Have we ever done a post? Did we do a post Sunbreak news?
No, so post Sunbreak news. There we go.
Post Sunbreak news, yeah, because we haven't really talked about that, and we've had 2 podcasts come out since then, and so excited for Ass. I'm actually really excited too. As long as they keep Gameth out of the game, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So much shade, poor Gamuto.
Wow.
All right, I'm gonna say it. That fight is so boring. In like
5 years.
His fight is so boring. He stands perfectly still, stomps around a little bit. You break the ice off of his feet, stomps around a little bit more. You break his nose, stomps around some more, and then either leaves or dies. Like I think it's a very boring fight personally.
I have no opinion. I haven't fought one in like 5 years, legitimately.
I haven't fought one either in like 5 years, and I refuse to. But I recollect very much in my brain, like anytime I had to go and fight a fucking Gameth, I was so just annoyed by it. Let me go fight the feet. Its entire body became a hitbox. Okay, let me go attack the feet again. More AOE hitboxes around its entire body. It doesn't move. It doesn't walk anywhere. Just stands there and eventually dies. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was such a boring fight.
We're probably going to be getting Gameth into this game though. Judging from
you think so?
I mean, we're getting so many like of the Fated 4. Like we're
getting one other Fated 4.
We're getting Astalos, Mizu.
We had Mitsuzune, we get Astalos.
We had Glavenus
in a previous game. It's a different game.
We're the new gen now.
Do you think we'll get Glavenus in Sunbreak?
It's a possibility.
It probably will happen, yeah.
Glavenus will definitely probably be in Sunbreak. I mean, this fast-paced movement I feel like fits.
Just keep brute wyverns out of my game. Brutes just don't belong.
A man after my own heart.
Baroth, Glavenus, Brachydios, all bad. hate those fights. Oh my gosh, I do not like them.
Devil
Fight
Joe
me in the comments below.
Devil Joe and Bracky are on my list of ones who I've had a hard time clicking with. I'm doing better with Devil Joe. I'm getting better at being all right with him, but I've had a hard time clicking with those two. If I play more 3 Ultimate this year, it's going to be like Bracky Dio's training montage.
You just gotta fly around with Instaclave, Adam. You just gotta fly
screw
with
that. I don't want to have to use one weapon to fight a monster. I want to be able to use any weapon to fight this monster. And for some reason, I cannot enjoy a Devil Joe unless I'm using Thunder DBs fully maxed out in world, standing underneath its body, wearing a Rocksteady mantle and pressing one button. That's it. That's the only way I can. Hey, he dies. It's dead. He's dead, Jim.
He's dead.
So, but like one of the things that came up a while ago was invaders, right? Like invaders in the series, because we don't have any invaders technically. Like Basilgeuse is technically invader, but doesn't
Roger
act like
is also
one.
An invader, but he sleeps.
Doesn't act like one. Yeah, exactly. So with that in mind, like I don't think we'll see Devil Joe in Sunbreak, and personally I'd be happy about that. But I don't think we'll see Devil Joe in Sunbreak, especially because like its entire shtick is that it is an invader. It is designed to be an intrusive monster, and the ones that exist in the game just don't do that right now.
I don't know. On the one hand, I feel like any monster that we saw in World is more likely to get into Sunbreak just because they already have up-to-date models and animations and rigs for it, which is a pretty big deal. When like prior to World, they could reuse almost anything all the way back to the PSP games, the PS2 games, and it's still kind of okay. It kind of holds up. I feel like anything that's already been featured in 5th gen has a better chance of getting in, so it wouldn't surprise me. But I don't know. It's interesting to see which ones they decide to bring back consistently, like the Elder Dragon, the Elder Dragon duo or trio with Kushala and Teo, and which ones they kind of let have games off. I don't know. I know a lot of people in general would be super happy to get back stuff like the Magalas or things like Kurapeko or Legaicris, that kind of thing.
Okay, so if they bring back invaders, they have to bring back Kurapeko. That's the only way. Like if they bring back Joe, you have to add Kurapeko too. It's the only way I can see this working well.
I would be down for Kurapeko. Like as much as annoyed as I am by that monster in 3U, I would be down for Kurapeko in this game.
Why do we keep adding the worst cave phallus monster back to the game, and yet we leave out the best cave phallus monster, Giganox, every single time?
I love everything to do with the Nargacuga, Giganox, Tigrex skeleton, so I'm with you. We're like, why can't we?
Those?
Yeah, why not more of that monster skeleton?
We need something new.
Giganox would.
We're getting Brute Tigrex.
Well, Giganox would fit so well because if you've ever seen its armor from 3U, it's like vampire. It's vampire aesthetic. Its hunting horn is called the Black Coffin. It's literally just a coffin, and every time you swing it, it screeches, and it's great.
Oh,
I love it.
Sounds really cool, actually.
It'd be sick.
Well, speaking of like hidden confirmed monsters, we have Brute Tigrex that's kind of just like in there.
Is it
his armor?
Where was that scene?
I didn't see that.
Brute Tigrex's armor in Iceborne was the one with the cape, right?
That's traditional G rank Tigrex design too.
That's just G rank Tigrex.
Yep. A lot of traditional G rank designs had capes, or at least starting in 4th gen and onwards. I feel like before that there might have not been quite as much capes, or maybe 3U. I haven't gotten to 3U's G rank yet. But
okay, I'll have to look into that. It
wasn't as much in 2nd gen, but capes and G rank have gone together for a while.
All right. Never mind then.
Because we saw the G rank Tigrex armor in the trailers, which has a cape, but it's yellow instead of black or like gray.
Yep.
Okay.
Though I'd be fine with Brute and Molten coming back.
Molten is maybe my number 1 pick, what I really want back more than almost anything.
And I could see Molten working really well, because I did not see it working well in World, and I'm so happy it didn't come into that game.
Yeah.
But in Rise, I could see it working really well because of how they design blast effects and like projectile effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Outside of like tracking aside, they come out in specific patterns. They do specific things. Whereas like in World, oh my God, Teostra's blast attacks in World are horrendous. And the only reason I know this is because I do 0% speedrunning, okay? I fought this thing enough. Trust me, I know.
He's one of your ultimate challenges.
He but every time he moves, if his model moves, the blast also moves wherever it goes. So if he rubs against a wall when he has like let's say he does like a tail attack, or no, actually let's say he does like the sweeping like head attack, and that pushes against a wall and it shoves him to the left, you now have 3 blast procs sitting on top of each other. You're dead. Guess I'll die. So in Rise, that doesn't happen, because the moment the monster does something, those come out in those spots, which I noticed, right? Because like I had like an Anjanath push a Teostra, and it still did like the put 3 blasts in front of me, but it pushed the Teostra and they stayed there, and I was like, huh, well, that's great. I like that.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing about that's probably the first time we've really had something like that in the series, where a lot more of the projectiles and just like ranged attacks from monsters in general feel designed around the player's movement with the wire bugs, which is pretty neat. It made playing without wire bugs really interesting. One of the last hunts I did before starting Elden Ring was we did Narwa with Charge Blade with no wire bugs, and it was really interesting to have to try and dodge some of those crazy like projectiles and rings and everything it was throwing at us without wire bugs.
It's because
like a lot of those are designed like explicitly around wire bug, and oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to get on the elemental attack rant in Rise. Anything that is a beam or an elemental attack, you do not have you don't have riser iframes. It goes through riser iframes. It also goes through wirefall. If you wirefall, you are now vulnerable. Yep. So like if you get hit by one of those things and you wirefall, you get hit by it again, right? Because beam attacks have a second hitbox specifically for wirefalls. You get hit by a Rajang beam, you wirefall into the same beam, you die. Whereas like in World, if you guard point Rajang beam, there is no other hitbox. Have fun SAEDing. So that was a huge learning curve for me when it came to Rise, and honestly, an aggravating learning curve. But it makes sense because wirefall is not supposed to be your end all be all. You know, if you get hit by something, you have to lay there in riser iframes, right? All of Narwa's attacks though through riser iframes. Wirefall, get the fuck out of there. Trust me.
Oh my gosh.
That was actually probably the toughest part about doing no wire bugs, was I didn't let myself wirefall either, and that meant there were a lot of grabs and combos for monsters that were actually pretty deadly. Like Magnamalo was insane.
Magnamalo, what was that? The ice monster.
Tetranodon even. Tetranodon has 2 ins. Two. Leave me alone. Stop grabbing me, you little. Like, and you get thrown up in the air. And you're like, oh, I guess I got hit by this.
What was that ice monster name?
It's Gosharag?
Yeah, Goss. Like the way he like walks slowly towards you.
That one actually frustrates me, because you can actually 100% of the time mash out of it before he hits you. So it's just like a nice big delay for no reason. It pissed me off. It's like, stop doing this. There's no point. If you can't hit me, stop doing it.
just wirefall. Forehead. How often did you get that during your wire bug gameplay, where people were just like, why didn't you wirefall there?
Not that frequently. I feel like there weren't. I mean, I think for maybe like once every stream or two, because there'd be somebody coming in who hadn't seen much of the challenge, and they'd go, oh wait, are you not wirefalling either? It's like, yeah, no, none of that stuff.
No,
it was tough.
Lines.
Yep, it was tough.
Did you use? I guess not, but did you use like great wire bugs, the jade lilies?
I let myself move around outside of combat just fine. It was anytime I was engaged with a monster, I wasn't allowed to use them, including I didn't let myself use them for jump attacks, because certain weapons get a whole lot off of that, like a greatsword and gunlance both get a lot enabled from their aerial moveset. So when I wanted to do that, I made myself wire bug onto a wall and run on the wall and jump off the wall, which you can do pretty quickly, but I made myself do that as a bit of a commitment in order to get myself up in the air. I wasn't just letting myself spam the jump attacks, because you can do that pretty consistently. If you want to just do jump greatsword or jump gunlance, you can.
Jump lance.
Jump lance.
It's
Love that.
Gunlance, I feel like, has one of the most complex movesets in that game, with the different ways that you can, like, all the ways those combos can snake together, and the way the inputs shift depending on what you just did. It's actually really confusing. It took me a while to get used to.
I need to try it.
I love Rise's iteration of Gunlance because it I don't know if you ever played it, the Ice Community Edition for World.
I didn't.
They built another type of shelling for Gunlance, which is called Omni Shelling, which is every shelling type balanced out, so like it all
shell?
kind of into like one shelling type, right? So like you can wide, long, and normal, and it's all kind of viable. And it created a really unique like rotation and like a really unique way to like fight the monster, which is exactly how Rises is built.
Indeed,
because like it's so cool to me.
Yeah, that's part of something that I've liked in Gunlance for a while, is even in the older games, it felt like there were always reasons to use almost every move in its kit. And I feel like World's combos made it so good and so like consistent to just go for your shelling combo, whether you were normal or long or wide. It was either poke shell or charge shell or the slam bam. And it was
you had skills to prioritize damage on those things, because like you don't need attack if you're doing long shelling.
Yep, and it was like all the different ways you would do those didn't necessarily lead into other types of attacks as easily as they do in Rise, which is part of, like, I really like how they built on top of World's changes to Gunlance and just basically made it so it's all the same options. It's the same type of shelling. I mean, they did change the shelling around a little bit between long and wide, which is neither here nor there, but the way they added different ways to lead through from one option to another mid combo, to like launch a stake from a charge shell or stuff like that, where you can easily get to one option from another, it makes it a lot easier to use all different kinds of moves, even if it's not your like meta shelling type. It's fun. I really like that a lot.
Just keep heat gauge out of the games. Oh my god. That's
something I am looking forward to experiencing so I can have a proper opinion on it. Heat
gauge is so obnoxious in my opinion, because it forces you to play one way, right? Because I don't know if you know how it works, and for those people that don't, like previous generations prior to World of Gunlance had this heat gauge. It was yellow, orange, and red, and when you use shelling attacks, that would tick up, and then you would use your Wyvern's Fire to lock the heat gauge, and if you locked it in red, you got like a 1.4 times damage modifier. If you locked it in yellow, it was 1.1 times damage mod, and then if you locked it in in orange, it was 1.1. If you locked it in white, it was 0.8. Or in yellow, it was 0.8. Yeah. So it's 0.8, 1.1, and 1.4.
For all your attacks, not just your shells.
For all of your attacks. It affected your damage on all of your attacks. And it lasted like 2 minutes. It's really long when you lock the gauge, too.
I think the same cooldown as Wyvern's Fire.
Yeah. And so you had to start a fight with like a very specific shelling combo, and every single like Gunlance was different because they all have different shelling types and different shelling like number of shells and stuff like that, so everything's different. And so if you go in there and you mess it up, have fun not dealing any damage. Not doing anything.
The most disappointing part of that is that the red buff there, right, when you got the best part of the gauge, was the same damage that Gunlance had inherently from 4 Ultimate. So there's actually shades of that in Rise, where the Wyvern art that buffs your shelling that you have to do every once in a while, I forget what it's called, like Rising Cutter, I can't remember the name right now. But
yeah, it's the one where you like slide and like drag the tip along
that
the ground.
One buffs your shelling damage, and it buffs it to where it was in World. Poor Gunlance. Yep. Also, the thing that drives me the most insane in terms of Gunlance and Rise is that its counter is so much shorter than every other counter in the entire game. Heavy bowguns is super long, charge blades is super long, long
you
charge
can
ones are pretty long too.
CPP and still counter at the end of the animation. CPP. Oh, I'm done. Oh, nope, I got a counter anyways. What?
Poor Gunlance,
I do it, and like it's like instant, and I still get hit. I'm just, you motherfucker.
Yep. Poor Gunlance.
Gunlance, no. Yeah, I just armor through everything now. Gave up.
Yeah.
Monster Hope for Sunbreak. Ristretto. So number one monster.
My number one is already in. I really wanted Shogun Sianatar. I love Shogun Sianatar.
What? Am I insane? Am I crazy?
I really like
garbage?
You just hate
I really
everything.
like second gen Shogun Sanitar with Lance back before Lance had counters. You just had to learn the iframes for his swipes, and that was it. You couldn't guard them all; they were too fast. You just had to learn how to hop through his legs, and it was fun. I don't know. I'm interested to see what it's like.
Swipe, walk sideways, swipe, walk sideways, swipe, and you get bled, and you get knocked down, and it's annoying.
I think it's honestly just because I like iframes. Like I jokingly say this on my stream when people ask me to play something like Monster Hunter Stories, or someone recommended an RPG last night, and I was like, well, I say this jokingly, but if it doesn't have iframes, I'm gonna have a hard time enjoying that game. And it's a joke, but also games that do have iframes and that kind of invulnerability window that's real tight like that, I really enjoy that sort of thing. So Shogun Sanitar is like the fight, and so I'm really interested to see how he feels in 5th generation.
It's gonna be interesting. He might be more faster paced.
Yeah, I mean, how could he be, right? But I'm excited to see.
I'm like expecting like a forward lunge with a double swipe that has 2 hitboxes. So if you wirefall, you just die instantly.
Yep.
I'm the spin, but he's gonna spin a second time the other way, right? Ooh. He's gonna spin clockwise, then counterclockwise, right?
I want him
his
to
jump.
Yes,
that's gonna be annoying.
I wanted to have proximity crab rave music. Imagine proximity crab rave.
It'll be on PC.
That'll be great.
Yeah, we'll make the custom like arena quest with 5. How many monsters actually can be in Rise? I think 3.
Actually,
of the crabs, and it just plays crab rave in the background the entire time.
Scratch that. Make him an invasive monster and have Crab Rave play bass boosted whenever he comes in.
I want him to have longsword counters that he uses on the player. Right. I want him to give the players a taste of their own medicine.
All the longsword one slashes
or just EIE Spirit Slash.
I want to see an endless amount of EI Spirit Slashes, like with the player and the monster. They just endlessly.
Yeah, they keep countering each other. Oh no, just ting, 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 ting.
Since he's already in the game, I think my second answer would be Blangonga. I like how Blangonga is just funky Rajang, and I want him in.
God, you keep picking the monsters I do not like. Blangonga is just a monster I do not enjoy. I fought it because I started like last year. I started another Gen U playthrough. I was gonna try to play it then, and then like Iceborne came out or something happened. And I started playing that instead, or Rise came out. That's what happened. But I got to Blangonga and I was like, this fight is annoying.
It was my first wall in the series.
Was it really?
Yep. That was the first monster where aerial longsword didn't work out.
Because like that's funny because like he was like considered like because they put him pretty early in Gen U, but like in previous games like he was like a later like an
he was mid middle of the rank
mid because like that's like how Baroth is, right? Like 3U Baroth was insane. Was it 3U? Was it 4U?
Baroth used to
Yeah, like because like Baroth used to be like a late game large monster, and then it comes to World and it's like the 4th monster you fight.
It's
like, no, my boy, they turned you into a wimp.
They turned you into a wimp.
That's like the only brute that I liked, and
he's mean in Rise.
And then World ruined it. Oh, he's mean in Rise, yeah.
He has those true combos where he'll throw out the mud, and if the mud hits you, he'll go for you with the charge. It's mean.
Yep, it's funny. Then you stand up and you're stunned, and then he just comes and headbutts you, and you die, and you're just like, I earned that. I deserved that.
I think there was a night where I triple carded to hiring Baroth for like an hour or something. It was stupid. I was really frustrated.
It's so funny, like just like hitting like this just sudden wall where you shouldn't, right? Like, and it's just like this sudden wall of just annoyance. It's like I'm getting outplayed. I can't do anything.
I have Baroth.
Of all things.
Yep.
Oh,
a brute.
Yep.
I mean,
that's my answer.
Throwing controllers.
That's my answer though. Blangonga. What about you guys?
I mean, for me,
don't say gore.
That's gonna be really hard.
Say, hey, we know your number 1 is gore.
Yes, but I mean, the way I want him introduced, I could talk about that because I mean, like, I feel like we're not gonna be getting him in the main portion of the story. Like, I feel like it's gonna be like Fatalis.
I think it's gonna be like a DLC.
He would fit as a title update.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like gore, and then they do another frame, chaotic, and then they do another frame, Shigaru, or something.
You think we'll get all three?
Well, I mean, it's an evolution chain thing. Yeah,
copium.
Dude, I'm gonna go fucking high on that quest.
So much copium.
But my second favorite is Astalos, and when he got introduced, I fucking freaked out. Oh my gosh. Like those two, I think are like my by far like my favorites. I'm fine. That'll be my perfect game.
So me and you were set. I got Shogun. You got Astalos. What's Jal's gonna be?
In the game. Giganox in the game, please. I want to see more like subspecies come back. Like I want purple Ludroth in the game just because I love Ludroth, and I was so happy to actually see Royal Ludroth like in the game. So I just want purple back. I like my big spongy boy.
It'll be interesting to see if they bring back returning subspecies, because they did a little bit in some of World, but did they bring back a returning subspecies in Iceborne? I guess they did with Tigrex and Brute.
They did that, right? And that was but Brute was like a post Iceborne, like post credits reveal, like part of the guiding lands. And then
Stygian.
like Garuga. Oh yeah, Stygian, and then like you have Garuga and Scarred if you want to count that. That's literally just the difference between like normal and tempered.
Yeah, acidic Gladys. That's true, but that was a new sub. That was a new sub. That was really cool. That was a returning monster, and they gave it a new sub, which is really cool. They were just
like, hey, he's something new he does that you might not like, but here you go.
Don't like it at all. Meet that monster.
Defense down.
I did like. I was really happy to see. I hope they keep Viper Toby out of the game. I doubt they will, but I hope they keep Viper Toby out of the game, only because if they are ggoing to add subspecies, don't add ones that we just got in our game that we like literally just played.
Sure. It's basically going to be Iceborne 2.
Things. Yeah, exactly, because it would just be Iceborne 2. Add new things. I was so happy to see it be shot in subspecies.
Yeah,
that
Bloodborne
is so cool. That is so cool.
They named him Bob.
They named him Bob. Robert when he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Robert, stop throwing pine cones.
I'm really interested.
I was so happy to see that.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see what they do with the movesets. You brought up Viper Toby, and that's something that's really interesting to me, where regular Toby Kadachi already has a good chunk of Viper Toby moves. What do you, like, I mean, not even just if you brought back the subspecies, what are you going to do for Master Rank? If you've already given a lot of those Master Rank moves to high rank monsters, what is this game's Master Rank going to be like?
That like
I'm really excited for
sweep attack that it does. I was like, when I saw that, and it literally low rank Toby, I was like,
I love it. I love it. Because that was my only real complaint with World's combat. Was, I mean, I had my issues with different like mechanics or whatever, but the actual combat itself was just a lot of the stuff in lower high rank didn't like have quite as much speed as the hunters did, and it didn't feel like they kept up as much. Certain fights, like Black Diablos, Basil Goose, to a certain extent with its damage, stuff like that. But it'll be interesting to see how they keep adding more moves like that. I'm so excited for Master Rank.
Did you play World before Iceborne came out?
Yeah. I didn't play all of it. It was my second Monster Hunter game. And so I played like, I didn't play any of the title updates really. I played through like Call of Taroth, and that was about it.
Because so when Iceborne was released, they readjusted low rank and high rank. They decreased monster HP, and they decreased status and staggers because they added claggers, and it trivialized the low rank high rank experience.
I played through it last year.
We saw this huge change in the speed run because they added the defender weapons too. So but like between defender weapons and like just doing that, we were getting like minute to 2 minute clears on monsters, and we're just like, what happened? And they literally halved all that stuff. So like the game changed when Iceborne came out because all the mechanics in Iceborne were balanced for Master Rank. Slinger bursts do the same damage they do in low rank as they do in Master Rank.
Really? Wow.
Same damage.
Yeah, so I played through it. No, go ahead.
It's insane. No, it's just insane because like they did kind of, they got rid of the game, right?
Yeah, it's not there. You can't
play it. Base world is gone.
Yeah. Yep. And like I had my differences with Base World too, but it's a bummer how it was left. It's interesting. My chat and I a while ago had like a big, I guess you could call it an argument. It was a big discussion for like an hour of like
screaming.
Should you mod it to be more like the base game that was? does that exist anymore? Can you really play base game anymore? Like, just it was a large discussion. Like, what's the intended experience? Was like it was a large ongoing discussion in terms of like, is how it's been left now the intended experience? Was base game the intended experience? What's the intended experience? And it was it's not a conversation with a logical answer, like a real like a definitive opinion. Answer. Yeah, exactly.
Like that's all objective, subjective, whichever one's the opinion one. Subjective. Because we'll never know what their intent was. Personally, I think Base World was meant to be Base World and Iceborne was meant to be Iceborne. And since they released Iceborne, Base World is gone, and that's fine, right? Like, because they don't, especially with the inclusion of Defender gear, they don't want you to play low rank, high rank. They don't want you to spend your time there. They want you to spend your time in Master rank. It is a bummer, but the way that I see it, think about it like an MMO. It's a live service thing. This year's content is out. Chapter 1 is out now, and we're gonna dump all of our time and all of our effort into Chapter 1 to get all the stuff that's good in Chapter 1. But then Chapter 2 comes out and we start getting new players that are doing Chapter 2. They aren't going to do the Chapter 1 grind because Chapter 2 exists. And so the Capcom developers, they see this, they're like, okay, we don't want people to go through and more or less air quotes waste their time because we didn't design the end game of Base World correctly. I said that. They did not, because none of your stream stones mean nothing to the game. So all that grinding that you did for stream stones and stuff means nothing. And they could have kept that going, and that pissed me off. Whatever. Though I'm happy they took out the weapon-specific stream stone bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah, remember that where you had to grind for the specific weapon stream stone? Like, I need a shaft stream stone so I can augment my bow. I'm not getting shaft. I'm getting everything else. Free. I hated that, and I'm happy that's out.
Yeah.
Right.
I forgot that stream stones was even a thing in the game. Like, I didn't even know.
Because their augment system now is amazing and it's better, and they took that they took those criticisms that we had and they changed it, and I guarantee you would have stayed the same because we still had something like stream stones in master rank augmenting. We had those crystals that got used, but they were generic, and I feel like we would have had the same thing in master rank if we didn't say anything. But
do you guys feel like we're gonna get talismans in Sunbreak, like the same talisman grind?
Ooh, yeah, I hope they fix that.
I think they'll iterate on it. I think that, I mean, it's shown that honestly it's a different thing for them that's pretty neat, because in the older games, like, they didn't patch things as much, they didn't change things as much from a balance perspective or like just changing how things works perspective. And I think you can see them, I mean, it's to varying degrees how often they do it and how much they do it. But even in Rise and World and Iceborne, you can see them tweaking those things as the game is out, or you can see them tweaking how the guiding lands leveling works. You can see them tweaking how the clutch claw works over time. I think a lot of folks would prefer if they did those sorts of changes a little bit more quickly in line with player feedback, but it's also something they've just not done before. Like, they haven't really changed the games after release, which is like both good and bad, because I mean, you end up with a situation like Jal was talking about where base game doesn't exist anymore and you can't go back and play it. You can't ever experience that part of the game with the same amount of weight that was originally intended for that content, the same amount of time and effort that was originally intended for that content. It just doesn't exist. But also you end up with stuff where, hey, they changed broken charge blade stuff, they changed broken slicing light bowgun ammo from the first the launch patch of World. They were able to fix that kind of stuff, and that's not something they did before, so it's kind of neat.
They fixed ledge exploit with heavy bowgun, where you could fall off a ledge and then like a quarter of a second later climb back up on the ledge to cancel your recoil and shoot again. My gosh.
I mean, I did make a video about this to kind of talk about, like, I guess my wish list for Sunbreak. It's kind of talking about like what I would want. This is not like me setting expectations, it's just more of just like, if they do it, I'm cool, but if they don't, that's not going to ruin my life. But I'm hoping for maybe to incorporate talisman grinding into the monsters we hunt. That would, like, they don't have to change the RNG in it, because we're going to be hunting the monsters regardless, and then we want to
well, yeah, you know what though, they need to change the RNG. Absolutely.
Is it that bad?
I'll think about it this way. To just get a oh god, I want to find this. Peppo had the numbers. To just get a let's just say a weakness exploit level 2 with a level 2 or 3 slot is rarer than the attack 4 decoration from Monster Hunter World.
Oh.
Every set in Rise is kind of based on this middle tier weakness exploit 2 with 2 level 2 slots, which is infinitely more infinitely more rare than that. The problem with talismans now is the fact that you can take all of your monster resources that you have gathered, shove them into this thing, and get 0 reward out of it.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
0 usable reward. That's the thing that stopped me from grinding Rise, because I literally have now on PC 300 hours in Rise, of which 200 hours of that is in post game, and I have not gotten anything higher than a Wex 1 level 2.
Okay, I didn't know that was the case, really, but coming off from that, you are right. If they changed it into a way that is incorporated with the hunts.
Like give us a reason to hunt that specific monster, because like even right now the best monster to hunt to talisman grind is still using slicing ambo LBG on basil geese.
It just feels so disconnected as well, because you have to talk to it in different person, just be like give attachments, and then it's just, to me it feels so disconnected, and I don't really
want it like in the hunts again, like it used to be.
I think that's a lot more fun than putting all of your resources into it. I think just having them drop as rewards for quests is probably an easy enough fix. Like I think most people would just prefer you getting a couple rolls based on quest rarity, and the rarer, like the harder tiers of quests, the last like rank or 2,
just like
good shots at good charms.
Think about it, the tempered investigations in World.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
Attack 1 decorations. It had to be a tier 3 tempered investigation, so it was mostly like Elder Dragons, like your Nergigante and stuff like your Nergigante, Teostra, Valhazak, Kushala. You had to be farming tempered versions of those to have the best chance, but at least you had 4 different choices. And like I keep saying it like this: look at Guiding Lands. To like augment your weapons, you have to like hunt different monsters. I have to go back and hunt like an Anjanath in the Guiding Lands to get parts to augment, just like a cool Troth weapon. But I was like, that's such a good implementation.
It is.
Just to layer the weapon, you have to go and get the materials from the Guiding Lands to do that. That's a good like way to make sure that really in the end game you're fighting old monsters.
Absolutely. That's another thing. I want investigations back. Like it brought more variety in terms of what you hunt and the challenges to come along with it, like the different times, the amount of feints you have, how many people can join the quest.
I think if I could choose like a mechanical thing that they could add or bring back, I would be really interested in something kind of like the investigations or kind of free hunting from 3 Ultimate and 4 Ultimate. I really started enjoying it in 4 Ultimate, where you would go out, like the points you used from these investigations were you used for your trading and like for consumable items and certain certain materials you could trade for with them. And it was neat. And I really enjoyed the experience of going out into a G rank investigation. The maps were just okay because they were like randomly generated investigation maps or randomly generated like tiled sets, which were all right, but they got kind of samey. I think a map like the Guiding Lands, where it's just a big map that has several biomes that things can spawn in, is probably just as good, or like a big open world map like that. But I went back and I started playing 3 Ultimate, and 3 Ultimate is really interesting in that it doesn't just give you good items. It doesn't just give you monster materials. There are multiple different reasons that you want to go out and hunt there. There are certain materials that you can only obtain in the Moga Woods that are used for the farm and the trader and for certain villager requests, and you can only get them by going out and doing certain tasks in investigation, whether it's like killing some bugs or hunting a certain monster when it's specifically like a certain day of the week or a certain like time of the season. And it's really neat how there are multiple different systems there that want you to go out and free hunt. And it actually feels like you're helping the village because you need certain materials for your farm. You need certain materials for your fishing fleet. You need certain materials to keep the villagers happy, whatever it is. And I think that having multiple reasons to go out and hunt in a free area like that would be really neat if applied to a new Monster Hunter game. Especially, I don't know, it's fun being able to go out there and have a valid reason, just go out and hunt random monsters, whatever shows up. It's going to get you some usable points or some usable materials. And if that happens to be maybe charms or talismans, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be great.
And I think the guiding lands did a good job, and like when we were introduced to it, like we had to level them up, so it made sense to like fight some monsters that we like wouldn't normally, like Paolumu. Like, you know, I fought hundreds of Paolumu and like, you know, Pukis and stuff like that. Like, and leveling up the guiding lands until you got it to a point where the materials that you were getting were now relevant to post game. That was tedious, and a lot of people don't like that tedium. But the people that do enjoy that tedium in a post-game experience, I mean, the Guiding Lands was a really good iteration of that.
Yeah.
I found the calculations, the numbers from TDS Peppo on Twitter. This was from beginning of the year. Because to preface it, this is what he was talking about. Is tweeting to clarify something I recently noticed. Apparently, quite a few people think that if they don't have the charm the runner is using in a speed run, the charm is automatically a god charm. That's not how this works. Quick comparison, the Talisman Quick Sheath 2 and 2 level 2 slots has a 1 in 361 probability to be found using Moon Bow melding. So that's like the melding that's like the monster parts, and then you get 5 talismans at the end of it. 1 in 361 chance for a Quick Sheath 2 with 2 level 2 slots. Okay, I call that efficiency 4. It's 4 level 2 skills. The Talisman Crit Boost 2, Weakness Exploit 2, 311, right? So that's a level 3 slot and 2 level 1 slots. Units, thousands, millions, but 1 in 390 billion chance to drop.
What the fuck? No. Oh.
So that was
never mind.
kind of data mined and kind of determined through user experience and the charm tables that we had and stuff like that. How often do these things appear? Where do they appear in the charm tables? How many charm tables do we know exist right now? When Switch came out, we said it was 7. I still think that's the case. I don't really remember. But yeah, because I don't know what they changed it, because they did an update that fixed the charm tables, and I think it's just that when you finish a table, you start a new table. I don't know.
If it's anything like the older games, it would roll your charm table every time you booted the game, and then anytime you reset the game, it would roll again to determine a different table you were on. But I don't know if that's the case for Rise. I think it is.
No, that wasn't the case for Rise on release on Switch. I don't know what the case is now. And then like I know even previous other Monster Hunter games, it was dependent on when you started your save, right?
That's
like
through,
when was
that's
the file
you specifically,
created.
right? Yeah.
And like that was like just dependent on like the internal clock and like what time it was. You could snipe a table that way.
And there are certain cursed ones you don't want to be on either.
Really?
There's nothing on them.
That's where you want to be grateful that we have patches, because that would have been patched out of 3U. There's no way that was intentional. Well, I don't think that was intentional. So that would have been patched out, no problem, but not back then.
Just be like, hey, that really bad save file you have, good luck.
Good luck. So, and to like kind of hit on this too, right, is that world, let me look this up again, because world chance for attack for decoration, because it wasn't really that bad, right? I think I have like 6 attack for decorations now. And it was dependent attack for like all these tables. 0.267% chance from the sealed face stone. So that's 1 in 267 chance. It's more likely than the other thing. And not only that, we had quests that would specifically increase the rate at which you would receive sealed face stones. So that's every single instance of that sealed face stone, you had a chance. Not to mention the guaranteed attack 4s that we could get from events and specific event quests. Like they literally gave away an attack 4 during the appreciation festival, the first one. So like, and here's an attack 4. Thank you, Capcom. I put this in my armor now. Attack 1 was no one's gonna believe me, but a 1 in 100 chance on a worn face stone, and then a oh wait, no, is that 1 in 100 chance? No, it's 0.1%.
Okay,
I don't think that's right, because then the warped face stone was a 0.3%.
Really?
Wait, is that actually Yeah, that's higher chance. It actually went down on sealed phase stones. It's funny. Carved phase stones in master rank have a higher chance, have a 0.5% chance to drop one. One in a 1,000, 1 in 3. I don't know.
I'm not
someone
the math
else.
Guy. You brought the
I don't know how do we do percentages?
We're not math people at all.
Ratios, man. I don't know. Ask me about like sea creatures or something. That's what I know about. Anyways, these are all on like this was. I don't know how accurate it is because I looked it up on Fextra Life. I just realized. So that take that with a grain of salt. But the point here. Yeah. The point here being is that the decorations dropped a lot more readily and were only at most 2 skills that we didn't have. A talisman here can be upwards of 5 level 4 skills, which level 4, or excuse me, 5 level 2 skills, which level 2 economy is what Rise is all about. 5 level 2 skills and then 2 additional level 1 skills, which could be like grinder or steadfast, right? They're huge. Like even level 1 skills are huge, just for that. So it's one of those things. I think the way that they fix it is a new meld. That's fine. We can stay with melding. And then maybe I have two solutions here. The bad solution, which is the one that I think that they'll implement, is that it's a new melding system where you get to choose your primary skill, and then it randomizes your secondary skill. And then the primary skill has a chance to be like a level 1 or level 2. And the secondary skill has a chance to be higher, and your level slots are random as well, right? Inside the same rules that are dictated in the base game. That's the way I think they'll do it. And there'll be different, tiers of that, like a level 1, a level 2, tier of that for the easier, like normie skills, and then like the ones that we care about, like the big DPS skills. And then that's just the same problem, right? Hunt the thing that gives the best rewards as fast as possible. That's why you do Basil Geese. 4 players with slicing ammo can do Basil Geese in a minute and a half without any experience, dude. Like, stand in front of it, hold the trigger. It will die, trust me. And then you get things that are comparable to Narwhal, right? Like the gem is still 100 points. Most of the parts that Basil Geese drops are 85, 80, and 75, and then it has like 260 drops, right? Like it's insane how much like material that a Basil Geese will give you. And it's not a Apex, it's not an emergency, right? Because there's no reason to hunt those things. Why do we hunt Apexes or emergencies? It's just a challenge. So if you want that challenge, more power to you. I don't care about fighting something that's going to hit me 4 times as hard that has 5 times the amount of HP. It's just tedious. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that.
No. That's okay. I know that upset a lot of people. I'm somebody where I actually do really appreciate them just putting hard ass versions of a monster in the game, even if there's no particular reward to it. I'm just like, dude, they put a hard one in there. That's the one I want to fight. Like, but I know it bothered a lot of people.
Even just like Apex Rathian, there's no reason to hunt an Apex Rathian outside of one part that is used for rampage weapons. So if I'm not using rampage weapons, I don't even need it. There's no reason to hunt this monster. It drops the same materials as a regular Rathian, so it's not like it's making my melding any better. It drops one material that's different that I just need for melding. Okay. Or it's only one, so it's not really that good. Or for the rampage weapons. So like there's like literally no reason to farm that thing. It's so weird. So I hope those are the things that they fix, right? Deviant armors were a thing. Give us Apex armors. Come on, like it's right there.
I hope Apex.
It's literally right there.
Oh, if it wouldn't, it'd be such a bummer.
It's going to be so strange to me if Master Rank comes out and we do not have Apex specific armors. Like they don't upgrade into like Apex trees.
Like they don't need to be broken. Just be.
Well, I think that's their problem, right? Is that they might end up being broken like Apex or Deviant armor was, right? Like Deviant armor was like end all be all for everything in Gen and Gen U. Just like throw on Deviant, you get all of these skills for free. Like one of these skills is 2 skills baked into one, and now you're an unstoppable force of nature. Like maybe that's what they're trying to avoid, but like it doesn't even have to be that. Just make it like something, just make it slightly different, slightly better,
or you just give it layered. I don't mind. Just give us something that
even
looks
if it was just even if it was just a layered, that would be sick, right? Like layered Deviant or layered Apex armor, but they didn't do anything with that, right? So I don't know. That's why all of this. Oh, did I say what I think? Oh, I forgot the other thing.
You said what you thought they'd do.
Yeah, that's what I thought that they would do with that's what I think they'll do with talismans. Just two more, and then we get to target them. Or it'll be like one that we can target for master rank talismans, and then one that is like, even bigger shit show. You can get 18 skills on one talisman, but it's a 1 in 4 quadrillion chance.
Oh, dear.
Good luck.
It's like, basically the what was the monster? Not Narwa. Bish. No.
Go on. Keep going.
Ibushi, yeah, like his armor set skills are very weird.
Well, yeah, but those are meant to be like just run as a full set and like kind of meme, right? And only the Narwa set's the good one because it can actually be used on CB. No, but the thing that I would like for them to do is make melding, if they're going to stick with melding, make melding where you had to hunt specific monsters and make all those meldings relevant. This meld will give you crit boost and other random bullshit. This meld will give you weakness exploit and other random bullshit, right? So and then like it's different tiers of monsters, and it's like like this one's like a variety of tier 1 monsters, the one's a variety of tier 2 monsters, one's a variety of tier 3 monsters, and then you get to kind of jump around and try those different monsters, and all of those parts are equal points, right? It just make it like, if you're gonna do it, make it a reason to farm it. And fix the rates, man. I don't want to do this and not have like a guaranteed drop.
I feel like they've always had this issue because it's just like,
it's
even
a gotcha system.
Back in 3U when I was playing that on stream, I organized my stream to have different parts of my stream, but I was so like determined to get this like Brachydios mantle or whatever it was called in
my
3U.
God.
I spent 14 hours grinding out for one mantle that my my partner got like 8 or 9 of them during the time I was grinding it.
That's Monster Hunter, baby.
Yeah.
Celestial Wyvern Prince were the best thing to ever come to this game. Veggie Elder tickets, the best thing to ever come to this game, because it let us just get parts. Give me the mantle, give me the gem, right?
I like the struggle.
Implementing that. Okay.
I do like, to a certain extent.
There is a point, because this is the thing. I have 20 hours a week to stream.
Yep.
That's all I got. And then I have 10 hours a week to chill. And like most people have even less time than that. We are now looking at a point in time and a shift in time where Monster Hunter is becoming less specialized for a niche audience that likes this kind of experience and more towards a wider, broader, I have not a billion hours to do this, design, right? And whether or not it's like you like that punishment or like you like that grind, right? There, as long as you're getting some sort of reward out of it, it could be something small. Like grinding the endgame content in Final Fantasy 14. You have a chance to get like in Savage content, you have a chance to get the piece of equipment that you want. And if you don't get it, you are given always one of a token that when you have 4 of them, you can exchange for the piece that you want. Okay.
Yep.
So at least me going through and doing this incredibly difficult content, I'm getting something out of it in case I don't get lucky. That's fine too. Give me a resource that I can spend that eliminates the necessity for luck.
Yep.
It can be a 1 in 390 billion chance. But give me something that will guarantee it eventually. Let me trade in 100 Nibblesnarf fangs and get a print. That print can be a talisman that has something on, like make a system, man. Do something that removes the tedium out of the game, and that is also optional. So people like Ristretto can say, printless and spend 180 hours trying to get one Nibblesnarf gem or something, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Nibblesnarf and Rise, please.
That would be cool.
Nibblesnarf and Rise would be all. I want him. I want to fish that buddy.
I don't think there's anything wrong with like giving a player a guaranteed path to get something, a productive way to do something. It's not just like a random grind. I think my issue with the prints was how frequently you got them, and it was so frequent that you really didn't end up ever having to have a grind like that anymore. I mean, if you were playing all the time and you needed lots of gems or something, then sure, then maybe. But I think a lot of people, myself included, in World and Icepoint, was like, well, I need these couple gems, but I could just wait and get this print, and then I wouldn't have to get it. And it was just like, it was either that, or I think it was that combined with the fact that there was no specific steps you had to go through if you wanted to try and get a high chance at that drop rate, aside just run a gold investigation. I really like that in the older games, if you need a specific part, there's specific strategies that you need to take on to fight the monster in order to get that part. Whether it's like, oh, I gotta break the head and I gotta capture it, or I gotta break the head, cut the tail, capture it. Yeah. In World of Iceborne, it was just like, well, if I want something rare, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna fight with a gold box. It's like, I think it's fun when there are specific changes you need to make depending on whether you need a wing tail or a tail or a head or whatever it is. So I don't know. I think that it's okay if you base it around stuff like that, even if it is more guaranteed. Like, you're able to make sure that, like, okay, if I haven't gotten a Rathalos ruby in 15 Rathalos fights, I'll have some way of trading stuff in for it or something. But I don't know, just not super frequently. I don't know.
No, not too frequently. I would agree with that. But like, don't let me spend 14 hours.
Yep.
The end of
I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Like, the end of Iceborne is really hard to compare that to, though, too, because at the very end of Iceborne, you're able to craft, like, to exchange a Celestial Wyverian print for literally any rare drop in the game.
Yeah.
But if it was the current update, you couldn't do that. Like, when Raging Brachydios came out, you could not go and be like, one reactor, please. It'd be like, no, we don't have that technology yet. We can't do that. We can give you Cool of Taroth, though. And I liked that idea in the sense that, you know, for people that aren't playing as often as people like us, that was a really big boon, so they could keep up with this live service kind of design.
The way they did Mastering Kolv was a lot better in terms of the system. The system in terms of like turning in all your materials that you had to be able to get the weapons in an easier fashion was really nice. It took me. I grinded Kolv like crazy in base world. And in my PlayStation 4 account, I finally got my Para-Encyclave that I wanted. And then before Iceborne came out. And it didn't take until Iceborne literally came out with Mastering Kolv that I got the Para-Encyclave on my PC account. I grinded so long. And I have like 1,500 hours each account or so. So it's just
I think it's pretty clear that a lot of people like to have a guarantee, like a path to work towards something, and it's pretty unsatisfying to have something that is both rare but also very valuable that you just can't get your hands on. And I think that having multiple paths to get something rare like that, whether it's a rare drop from a Kolv or whether it's a rare talisman, I really like the idea that you said, Jal, where you could put different kinds of parts in to influence kind of what table it ended up on, or what kind of skills you get on your talisman, that kind of thing. What class of talisman you're getting, whatever like that. I think having like guaranteed steps.
Like, I want water resistance. Let me go like farm like a coral pookie to like snipe the water resistance, you know?
Yeah, stuff like that is a lot more satisfying to folks, even if there's a random aspect to it, as long as you're taking steps to to reduce it and to try and, like, I don't know, take meaningful steps towards making you what you want appear and happen.
It would be really nice.
It's clear a lot of folks want that.
Yeah, especially right now, because Moonbow is literally just random. It's just random. That's it.
It's like how
we're gonna shove our hand in there and we're gonna grab out 5. Those are the 5 you get. That's it. You've gotten this one 7 times. I don't care.
That's something pretty notable about the Guiding Lance, is that they gave you steps to make what you wanted to happen, whether it was an augment or it was a decoration or it was a layered armor or it was a specific monster to spawn. They gave you ways to work towards it, and that was meaningful. I mean, they were all pretty long, where you had to level the thing up, you had to level the lands up, and you had to fight specific monsters to get their drops to make the augments. It was a lot of work, but it was satisfying because you were working towards something. It wasn't just random.
Yeah, it was. It worked. It was just. It wasn't like you're kind of throwing a dart at a board, seeing where you could land at. Like, you're actually grinding up what you want, what you need.
I'm excited to see if they have another swing at that in Sunbreak, and if not, then I'm excited to see what they do for MH6 if they do something. Yeah,
because the Citadel is what it's called, is the new area.
It looks huge.
It looks cool.
So they said it's like multiple like biomes, right? And they showed 3 of them. They showed a forest area. They showed this like this like rundown castle, and then they showed.
I think there's going to be more than that.
I think so too, because I was saying well. A large like just a large area, and the way they've been designing these, like, because the Guiding Lands was cool, but it was very much like, here's like your three bubbles, and here's these three bubbles, and here's these three boring. Very, very boring. This area looks like it's different biomes, and like it makes sense, right? It's not just like, here's a volcano next to a tundra. It's like, how did that happen?
I think that it's clear they're just going to keep making the maps bigger, and I think that's really cool. That's one of my favorite things about Rise, just straight up, where there's hardly any downsides. The maps are so good.
Until it's gigantic.
Yeah, I personally don't think it's going to work like the Guiding Lands. I personally think it's going to be a map where they're going to introduce a lot of new monsters. Like, I think that it'll be like the map, not like the Guiding Lands, but like the map to introduce new things.
Yeah, I would like to also see maybe one or two more like other very specialized maps, like the Shrine Ruins, or the tower would be great. I posted on Twitter today. Heaven's Mount is like one of my favorite areas from 4U, and I would love to see Heaven's Mount again. Are you okay?
I don't
Are
like
you kidding me?
No, I saw it.
It's a flying island sanctuary in the sky. It's the coolest fucking thing.
I was about to reply to you saying bad take, but it.
I don't know. I've been bullied by a lot of Remobra and a lot of Io Prey on that map. I don't know.
Yeah,
beautiful,
especially Seregios. But no, I wasn't a big fan of that.
Steve,
I would love. He's my third favorite. I would love to see him come back. But
my boy Steve, give me Sergio's weapons again.
I'm just not a fan of that map. Too many ledges. There's just too many ledges.
I think the thing is, it's like,
Wave, so
especially
I loved it.
In Generations Ultimate, you're like spoiled for choice with like mostly flat maps. In 4U, that's one of the better ones.
Yeah.
The rest of the maps are so vertical. It's insane.
What's the Ancestral Steps?
Oh my gosh,
it's so bad. Every zone in the Essential Steps is so bad except for Zone 2.
I have PTSD from fighting Apex Rajang there with like Hunting Horn and Hammer.
Oh yeah,
I haven't yet to fight Apex Rajang.
We call that Monster Hunter math on my stream, where it's every time Rajang jumps off a ledge, you have to try and calculate how its move is going to behave differently, because it was on like a tiny slope, so all of a sudden this move works totally differently, and you have to calculate it on the fly. Just have fun. Good luck. Hope your geometry is good. Like.
Oh, man.
I like the fact that one of the areas in the Ancestral Steps is literally just a cliff, the side of a cliff. Like, that's the whole area. It's literally just a cliff face. Good luck. They did not give a shit designing these areas, and that's like one of the charms of 4U, was the fact that you were partly fighting the monster and mostly fighting the environment, and it made it so frustrating. Loved it. Oh.
Yeah. You got used to it, but it took some time to get used to.
That's why I like the Ancient Forest so much in World. Literally my favorite map. Everyone's gonna call me insane. It's my favorite one.
It's cool.
I love it. It's perfect in every way. It's not confusing. You hardly get lost there, right? Not like confusing. The back of my hand. All of the ledges are well placed. All of the slopes are impeccably designed. There's not a single finicky slope in that entire area.
It's bad.
I thought you were serious.
I love the Ancient Forest but I know its flaws. It's still my favorite area, and I understand its flaws.
I get lost so many times. No matter, dude, I have fucking like 2,500 hours into the game. I still
how many
get lost.
Hours you have in it. If you aren't paying attention, of course you're gonna get fucking lost. You're so used to running from point A to point B. How about you go and bumble around in a cave for a bit?
I'm just like, I'm in like
places,
the upper location of the Ancient Forest, and I'm like, wait, I don't usually hunt here. Where am I?
That's on you. 1,500 hours and you barely hunt on top of the tree. Wow.
You're still in base game. Shut up.
In base game every day, baby.
Yeah, I know. Oh man.
Oh boy.
Well, I guess
Sunbreak will be fun though.
I'm excited. I mean,
it's a good time to be a Monster Hunter fan, I think.
It is.
I think it definitely is. And yeah. Holy shit. There's a lot to look forward to.
4U remaster. That's all we need. Just like a 4U, not even a remaster, a remake. Just take 4U and everything that 4U was and put it into World's engine or Rise's engine or whatever. Just make it with updated graphics.
A complete rehaul.
It could be the exact same game, like word for word.
With voice acting.
Do that with voice acting. obviously, because we need Matt Mercer in the game again.
Make the dialogue skippable for Jal. It's just like every time it says press A, it says press A for Jal. It's just.
Let me have skippable. All right, Capcom, I know you're watching. Skippable cutscenes, just like Rise,
After
but in
the
MH6.
first playthrough.
Dude, no, I don't give a shit. Skippable cutscenes all the time. Please do not do what we did to us in World.
They put so much work into those cutscenes. Make it
Who
so.
cares? Final Fantasy
Please enjoy them.
every cutscene. And those games are insane.
It works so hard. At least one playthrough, experience the cutscenes into all its glory. Second playthrough, the game recognizes you played this before. Go for it. Skip it.
I bought it. I'm skipping it.
Please enjoy them.
But yeah, I think that covers about everything I want to talk about.
Yeah. Ristretto, do you have anything else that you wanted to say to the people before we kick you out for? No, I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh.
Not in particular, just I happy hunting, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is there anything
so guys,
you like to plug?
Yeah, there.
Anything I'd like to plug? I mean, you can find me on Twitch at Ristretto Chronicles. That's pretty much it. I'll be playing Elden Ring for the next little bit.
Where did the Chronicles part to your username come from? Like, is that like a channel like name? Is that like for like channel like specific, or is that like part of like the username?
It's going to be a classic. I would have just done Ristretto if Ristretto was available, but it's a dead account. So Chronicles was something that sounded good, and I technically am chronicling myself playing through the games. I think I'll say this maybe for the first time here. I've actually been thinking about changing it to Ristretto Rambles, because I feel like with my pace that I go through the games, Rambles might be a bit more applicable.
The RR.
But you heard it here first.
As of right now, it's still Ristretto Chronicles on Twitch.
I could call you double R.
R squared.
Whoa. Yeah,
all right,
go check
thank you guys for joining us through this ranting about Monster Hunter, both current and old gen. My name has been Jalbagel. That's been SkojSkull, and our super special guest Ristretto.
Thank you for having me.
You go. Yeah, of course. Make sure you guys go check out Ristretto. All of his links will be below in the description. His Twitter and his Twitch. Definitely go drop him a follow and enjoy his unique takes and unique playthroughs of video games. Like Rise Wirebugless was a lot of fun to watch. You do. I'm just saying.
I love the discussions you two had. I didn't talk that much because of my tech issues I've been having today, but like,
nah, you're great.
You're all good.
Yeah, this was fun.
This was fun. But something that we do like to do is have people back on for future episodes, either again just by themselves or maybe with some other people that they may know or may not know. So if you're interested in that, we'll definitely keep you apprised.
Sweet, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
But until then, bye everybody. I hope you had a great breakfast.
Yeah.
Ours was about Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Bye everybody.
Love your faces. Bye.